Oh hi there, Euroman of Euromans Movie Report. This week I went to the theatres, or to the cinema, as you Americans say. I went to see Robert Schwenneke, the guy who gave us the action thriller starring Jodie Foster a couple of years ago called Flight Plane. He has now teamed up with Morgan Freeman, Helen Mirren, Bruce Willis, Maria Louise Parker, and John Malkovich to give us a movie adaptation of the so-called comic book R.E.D. R.E.D. is simply basically about this former CIA special agent called Frank Moss, if I remember correctly. He has been retired, and in this he is very unsatisfied with, because he misses his old life and all these daily routines and thusly he calls the pension company every day to say that his check isn't in the mail, but it's basically to talk to this representative. I don't remember her name, but she's played by Maria Louise Parker, and they simply sit there, yum 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 yum, and he then orders a new check from her each day, and she tells him that she reads these novels about being an agent and supermodels as agents, etc. And then one day, after Bruce Willis' character has been farting around for the first 15 minutes or 20 minutes of the movie, some special attack units with huge ass machine guns, they attack his house, and he of course wastes them all. And when it looks like he's back in business for some God knows no reason, and then he travels to Atlantics. I don't remember exactly where it was, because I went to the toilet at that specific time. But he travels to meet Claire. Maybe it's St. Louis. Yeah, I think it was St. Louis. And then there's a lot of there he meets one of his former colleagues, played by Morgan Freeman, who is apparently getting older and older. And then the trio now, of course, they talk a little about life, etc. And then some bloke comes into a retirement home where Morgan Freeman is living, and we are believed to think that he wastes him from behind. But and believing this, they travel down to the swamps where they meet one of the other weirdos, played by John Malkovich, who is of course good at playing a weirdo, and he simply he farts around and simply dragging his feet, but he does a better job than Bruce Willis, in my opinion, in this movie. And then they are haunted by pursued by a younger CIA agent played by Carl Urban. You know, the guy we, for instance, saw last year as Bones in the new Star Trek movie. And of course there's Maria Louise Parker, we know from Weeds. And then of course they try to discover why this CIA hit squad is after them, and then they run into Helen Mirren, and playing a former MI6 agent, now turned home going woman. And then they run into Brian Cox, who delivers an awful Russian accent, and there's tons of other actors who does a better job at playing a Russian than Brian Cox did. So, but also there's a special appearance by 1970s action star Ernst Borgnine, and he, in my opinion, is one of the best things about this movie. It's good to see this but aged former action star, 93 years old. He can still deliver his lines as well as he could in the 1970s action films. And him and John Malkovich they delivered the best performance in the movie, because Bruce Willis he was funny in a movie like Bandits and the whole 9 yards, but generally Bruce Willis, he doesn't go well in comedies. I don't know what they were thinking, because this movie wasn't funny. The humor, it didn't have this aha feeling, ha ha ha. It had the ha ha. Is that supposed to be funny kind of feeling about it? So, and the directing wasn't done very well, and the actors seemed to stumble across their own fate, and I was very disappointed. And I don't know, maybe it was the story. I don't know the comic called R.E.D, but I'll attempt to read it sometime, somehow, if I can find it. But what can we say about, for instance, Helen Mirren's performance? She did okay, but it wasn't one of her best performances. Because one could easily see that Helen Mirren, she doesn't belong in action films. But John Malkovich and Ernst Borgnine, they did, in my opinion, the best performances. And Morgan Freeman, you should stick to playing Mr. Fox in the Christopher Nolan Batman universe. So, generally, was I impressed? No, I wasn't. It was okay, but R.E.D, it wasn't a comedy, and not a good comedy. It was not funny like the 1990s classics called like Hot Shots and all the others. But personally, it attempted to be funny, but it wasn't. So what I'm gonna say, I would say 2 Coca-Cola bottles out of 5. So, that's basically it. Next week I'm gonna review Unstoppable. I'll put on my train cap and then until next week. This is Euroman. And I'll see you next week.